You tell a stranger your deepest fear in a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon. They listen. You feel seen. You go home to your childhood friend and can't explain what you did last weekend. The distance is suffocating. This isn't about being extroverted or introverted. This is something else entirely. Some people form bonds faster with strangers than with the people who've known them for years. They share more. They feel more. They connect in ways that feel immediate and real. And then they wonder why they can't do the same with the people who are supposed to matter most. If that's you, this isn't about fixing yourself. This is about understanding what's actually happening beneath the surface. Let's break it down. There's a specific sensation when you meet someone new. No history. No expectations. No script. You talk about things you've never said out loud. They don't flinch. You don't perform. For a moment, you exist without the weight of who you're supposed to be. That's the thing people don't understand. It's not that you prefer strangers. It's that with strangers, you don't have to carry the accumulated mistakes, the outdated versions of yourself, the roles you've been assigned. You sit across from your family at dinner, and every word feels like it has to pass through a filter. You choose safety. You stay surface level. You say the things that won't cause friction. Then you're on a plane next to someone you'll never see again, and suddenly you're talking about your marriage, your doubts, your fears about becoming your parents. They nod. You feel lighter. The contrast is jarring. It's not that you don't care about your family. It's that with them, there's too much at stake. Every conversation carries the weight of every conversation before it. With strangers, there's a clean slate. No pattern to break. No disappointment to avoid. You can be the version of yourself that exists in your head, the one that doesn't have to apologize for changing. This isn't random. There are real psychological mechanisms at work here. First, the stranger on a train effect. Psychologists call it self-disclosure reciprocity. When you share something vulnerable with a stranger, they often match it. There's a unique intimacy that forms because there's no long-term consequence. You don't have to see them at Thanksgiving. You don't have to manage their reaction for the next 10 years. The risk feels lower, so the honesty flows more easily. Second, identity flexibility. With people who know you, there's a Cordy version of who you are. You're the responsible one, the funny one, the one who never talks about feelings. Those identities were formed years ago, and breaking them feels like betraying an unspoken contract. With strangers, you get to choose who you are in real time. You're not confined by the person you were at 15 or the role you played in your family system. You get to test drive different parts of yourself without someone saying, "That's not like you." Third, lack of enmeshment. In close relationships, especially family, boundaries blur. Their emotions become your responsibility. Their expectations become your burden. With strangers, there's a natural boundary. You can share your truth without absorbing theirs. You can be honest without managing the fallout. The emotional cost is lower. The freedom is higher. Fourth, the novelty factor. New people bring new perspectives. They ask different questions. They don't assume they already know your answers. People who've known you for years stop asking. They fill in the blanks with outdated information. They assume you're still the same person you were the last time you had a deep conversation, which might have been 5 years ago. Strangers are curious. They listen to understand, not to confirm what they already think they know. If you bond more easily with strangers, you likely carry a few specific traits. You have a high need for authenticity. Performing exhausts you. Small talk feels like sandpaper on your skin. You'd rather skip the surface and go straight to what's real. With strangers, you can cut to the chase without the preamble. They don't expect you to ease them into it. You carry some level of relational trauma or disappointment. Somewhere along the way, the people closest to you didn't hold your truth well. They dismissed it, weaponized it, or couldn't handle it. Now there's a part of you that expects that same response. So you protect yourself. You keep things light with the people who matter, because you've learned that depth leads to pain. But strangers, they can't hurt you the same way. The stakes are different. You're likely introspective and self-aware. You think deeply about your own patterns, your motivations, your contradictions. You have an inner world that's rich and complex. And you're starving for someone to meet you there. Strangers who engage at that level feel like water in a desert. They remind you that connection is possible, even if it's fleeting. You might struggle with long-term relational maintenance. The beginning is easy. The depth comes fast. But sustaining it over time, navigating conflict, staying present when the novelty fades, that's where it gets hard. It's not that you don't want lasting relationships. It's that the skills required to maintain them feel foreign or exhausting. Starting over with someone new is easier than repairing what's broken with someone old. You value freedom over security and connection. You'd rather have a real conversation with a stranger than a comfortable but hollow relationship with someone you see every week. Security feels like a cage, if it means you have to hide parts of yourself. This ability to connect with strangers is a gift, but it comes with a price. You might mistake intensity for intimacy. A deep conversation doesn't equal a deep relationship. Sharing your pain with someone on a plane doesn't mean they can hold you through the long, boring middle of life. Intimacy isn't just about vulnerability. It's about consistency, repair, and showing up when it's not exciting. If you keep chasing that initial spark, you'll always be starting over. And starting over means you never get to the part where someone knows you well enough to love you through your patterns, not to spite them. You might avoid the harder work of deepening existing relationships. It's easier to find a new stranger than to tell your friend of 10 years that you felt unseen for the last 3. But a real connection requires confrontation. It requires saying the thing that might create discomfort in the service of greater closeness. If you keep looking outward for connection, you'll never address the relational dynamics that are keeping you lonely in your current relationships. You might feel chronically misunderstood by the people closest to you. They see you as distant, guarded, hard to read. You see them as unwilling to go deeper. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But if you never risk being fully known by the people who already love you, you'll always feel like you're living in 2 different worlds. You might struggle with a sense of rootlessness. Strangers come and go. The connections feel meaningful in the moment, but they don't build into something sustainable. You crave depth, but you also crave continuity. And those require different skills. If you never plant roots, you'll never feel fully at home anywhere. Here's what you need to know. This isn't a flaw. This is your nervous system trying to protect you while also trying to connect. You're not broken. You're navigating a very real tension. The need for safety and the need for true connection. Strangers feel safer because they don't carry the history that's hurt you, but they also can't give you the depth that comes from being known over time. The goal isn't to stop connecting with strangers. The goal is to bring that same honesty into your existing relationships. Start small. Pick one person who already cares about you, someone who's earned some level of trust. Tell them one true thing you've been holding back, not a trauma dump, not a crisis, something real. I've been feeling disconnected lately, and I don't know how to talk about it. I need more depth in my relationships, and I'm realizing I've been keeping everyone at arm's length. See how they respond. See if they can hold it. If they can't, that's data. You learn something about the relationship. If they can, you've created a small opening. You've started to build the kind of connection you've been seeking elsewhere. Question the narrative you've built about the people who know you. Have they actually proven they can't handle your depth, or have you never given them the chance? Sometimes we assume rejection before it happens because it feels safer than risking it. Test the assumption. See what's actually true. Recognize that sustainable intimacy is built in the repair, not the reveal. Anyone can have a deep conversation once. The real connection happens when you come back the next week and continue it. When you have a conflict, work through it. When you're boring, they still show up. That's the intimacy that sustains. That's the intimacy that makes you feel less alone in the long run. Honor both parts of yourself. The part that connects easily with strangers is perceptive, open, and brave. The part that struggles with long-term relationships is protecting you from past pain. Both are valid. Both are trying to help. The work is integrating them. Bring the openness you have with strangers into the relationships that last, and bring the discernment you have in close relationships into your interactions with new people. You don't have to choose between depth and safety. You can build relationships where both exist. It takes time. It takes risk. It takes staying when it gets uncomfortable. But it's possible. If you bond more easily with strangers, you're not running from connection. You're running toward the version of it that feels real. The stranger in the coffee shop doesn't know you're supposed to be strong, so you can be honest. Your family knows the role you've played for 20 years, and breaking it feels like betrayal. But here's the truth. You're allowed to evolve. You're allowed to outgrow the version of yourself people expect. And the people who truly love you will adjust. They'll meet you where you are now, not where you were. The ones who can't, that's painful, but it's also information. You deserve to be fully known and fully loved. Not in fleeting moments with people you'll never see again, but in the day-to-day grind of real life with people who choose you over and over. That starts with letting them in. Not all at once, not recklessly, but enough to give them a chance to prove they can handle the real you. And enough to give yourself a chance to be loved for who you actually are, not who you've been pretending to be. So here's the question. Who's one person in your life you've been keeping at a distance, and what's one true thing you could share with them this week? If this resonated, subscribe. There's more where this came from. See you there.